All right, let's get into this. Every successful business obviously starts with an idea. Usually a really good idea, but not always. I do believe that with enough iterations, it actually is possible to make just about any idea work over time. But my goal here is to save you a ton of time by making sure that you pick something that inherently lends itself to newsletters so that you're not scrambling later to try to figure out why your idea isn't working and so on. So, in this entire section, which I'm calling Monetize Your Mind, it's quite straightforward. I have it down kind of to a science, sort of. And yeah, let's just get into exactly the way that I tend to look at things whenever I'm trying to vet an idea to make sure it's going to lead to a good newsletter. And then we'll get into a bunch of specific ideas and just sort of talk through it. The whole point of this section is to get your creative juices flowing, kind of look inward. What is it that you want to create? Because that's the whole concept of monetizing your mind. You're taking what you love and what you're passionate about, and you're turning it into something that other people love, and you are going to make money off of it. And I wanted to quickly say that if you already have a niche website, or maybe you have a big Facebook page, or anything like that, everything that I'm going to talk about, I think, is still very important, because you could have a successful site that gets Google traffic that just simply does not translate to newsletter, or Facebook does not translate to newsletter. So using these tactics with what you've already built, these methods that I use in order to come up with a good idea, can help you sort of spin off a newsletter from what you're already working on. So you're not totally starting from scratch. But if you are starting from scratch, in some ways that's even better. So first, there are two pretty simple pieces to this puzzle. One is your unique understanding or passion for the niche, for the idea. And number two is whether there's an audience that is starving for this content. Pretty basic, but I want to give you a quick example of a newsletter that I built. It was actually a series of newsletters, but they were all tied back to the same concept. So it's called onlyinyourstate.com. And the entire purpose of this website and the newsletter was to, quote unquote, discover what's in your own backyard. So I'm from Ohio, and that was the first state that I launched in. And everybody in Ohio, they talk a lot about going to South Carolina or Florida or the Caribbean. So, a lot of people in Ohio, they don't really realize that the state is filled with lots and lots of hidden gems all around the state. So when you look at the two pieces of the puzzle that I just described above, or a little bit ago, particularly for Ohio, I had a deep understanding of the state. So that was my sort of understanding, my unique take, my passion, and the other part was that I know how to surface content that's relatively unknown. So that's sort of my unique angle, right? I understand the state, and I know how to surface this content. And as for the audience, like I just described, they were starving for the content. They just didn't know it existed. And that's really the perfect audience, because they're really easy to impress, because they're getting all this for the first time because of the unique angle that I have. So when I launched the newsletter, fast forwarding a little bit, I was getting subscribers through Facebook for literally under 10 cents each, and the open rate was over 40% daily. So I had this formula in place for Ohio and ended up rolling it out to all the other 49 states, and took on a business partner, and we grew it massively and ended up selling it in 2019. So it was a really great success, and I'm only starting out this section with a real life example so that I've done it. It's real. I'm just one person, and you're one person, I assume. So you can do this as well. The first kind of step after you list everything, like just list anything and everything that you're interested in, and then ask yourself these 4 questions. Number one, do you love the topic? Number two, can you provide a unique angle or insight? Number three, will the email make your reader's life actually better in some way? And four, is there plenty to say, create, and write about for a long time to come? When you ask these questions about a potential topic that you're interested in, it's really important that the answer is yes to all those, a resounding yes. If you're a little hesitant, either move on to a different idea or niche down a little bit, things like that, which we'll get into some thoughts on that here in a moment. So the way that I sort of look at this is tying back to those four questions. It's that you want to enjoy what you're doing, number one, while making your readers' lives easier or better. That's number three. Because you yourself have a unique way of covering it. That's number two. And you want to do it for a long time to come, number four. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the this list of 20 ideas for a niche newsletter. This, again, it's to get you thinking about what you like and how you could maybe apply some of these to your own interests. And, it's like a brainstorm session pretty much. At the end of this entire course, I'm actually doing a deep dive in the bonus section on 10 of these with Facebook creatives, pretty much everything you need to launch. In my deeper rationale and why I think that those 10 ideas are very good. They're 10 ideas I would start tomorrow if I was in the process of building new newsletters. So I'll kind of go through these 20 quickly because you can read it. It will be in the written section, so I don't want to bore you too much with a long video, but I will just sort of go through them and make some random comments as I go. I haven't really looked at this list since I originally wrote it a week or two ago, but let's just go ahead and get into it. So parenting a child with, and I put a challenge or a condition. So the examples I have here is autism and celiac. So where I would say your idea is bad is if you're like, hey, I want to make a newsletter on parenting. It's a bad idea. But if you niche down to a specific situation for a parent, especially if you yourself are in that situation, it becomes a good idea because you have hands-on experience, you have knowledge, you can truly monetize your mind, monetize your experience, and help other people along the way. So it's a great idea. This one, the set number 2, a newsletter for high earners. This is something that I think I put on here because there's just not a lot of good content out there for people who are high earners, and it's just something that I felt was a good idea. Number 3 is something also near and dear to me, the work from home lifestyle. Everybody I talk to, especially kind of new fathers who work from home, there's so many struggles that you don't realize. Like you think on the surface that because you work from home and you are a new parent that it's perfect, right? You get to spend as much time with your kids as possible. And sure, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it feels it's something that I don't believe too many people are talking about until you talk to somebody in the same situation, and then we're all like, yeah, I know. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I think that it checks all the boxes as well. Moving on, I'm gonna go over some of these pretty quickly. Astrology, I think, works for the same reason that a religious niche would work. I think people are very devout. It's a trait of who they are. But again, I wouldn't say, okay, I'm starting an astrology newsletter, and I wouldn't even start a Taurus newsletter. But like I have it here as an example, the Taurus mom or the Taurus mother could be a good example of something that would work because it's niche enough, so on. Okay, I have a lot more to go through, so I got to speed up. Here, a side hustle for a certain demographic. I actually really love this one. So I even wrote here, I've often thought about picking a senior-friendly side hustle and building a business around it. So just imagine that, 60-plus-year-old women who maybe they're retired or whatever it might be, and they have some sort of skill set. I mean, I don't want to be too stereotypical, but you could say something like knitting or something. Well, that in itself could be a pretty good newsletter if you're helping this particular audience essentially turn their skill into a side hustle. This also really lends itself to a course, so it could potentially be, highly profitable. Geography based, already mentioned only in your state. I don't need to go into details, except I would not do it on states. It's a little too broad. I would do it on a medium sized city. I think that it's really underserved, especially cities that are maybe, say, anywhere from 50,000 to 150,000 people. And especially if you think you can connect with local businesses, I've always felt this idea is a no-brainer. This might even be the best one on the whole list because you can monetize it so well. Sports team, it just goes back to passion. If you love, the Cleveland Browns, like I do sometimes and hate them other times, and you have unique angle, unique insights, could be a good one. I like this one too, 5-minute hacks for, and then any profession. And as I said here, I've had the idea of like 1% improvements for any profession. So why I think this works is they're like quick hits. It's a quick newsletter every day. It's like people are going to open it because it's not a big commitment. They know it might make them a little bit better in some way, so they're gonna open it. Specific pets. I once ran I built and ran a newsletter on animals and pets. It was pretty broad. It worked okay, but I've always believed that if you go a little bit more niche, especially these pets that are strange to own, or at least different than a dog or a cat, or pick a breed of a dog, things like that, that can work. AR and VR, I just think that, especially with Apple Vision Pro coming out, this industry will ultimately explode. There's way too much money behind it. We just got to get those glasses down in size, and I think we'll get there probably in a few years. So, keep AI in mind. Like everybody started an AI newsletter right after ChatGPT kind of came about. Well, I think AR will have its ChatGPT moment. It's ChatGPT device, it's killer app, whatever you want to call it. I'm not explaining that perfectly, but to already be the leader in the space now could be a great way to position yourself. Number 11, not too many of you are going to want to go into this, but women with menopause, it's a struggle that they have, and there's really nothing specifically for them. I think that this idea lends itself to a lot of affiliate sales and lots of opportunity there just because it's very underserved. It's not really talked about too much. There's a lot of topics that unfortunately, particularly related to women, that are, for some weird reason, a little bit taboo. And sometimes when something is taboo, I'm not trying to say this in a sociopath way, but it is a market opportunity. Number 12, homeschooling. This one should speak for itself. If you are a homeschooling parent, then you have a unique perspective. This is great for selling digital products. We'll get into that later in the course. Highly specialized trades, another one I have loved for a long time. I think by nature, plumbers, electricians are not necessarily writers. Their internet usage is probably limited to the normal stuff that everybody uses, but not really the marketing angle. So I believe if you're skilled at a trade, there's an opportunity there. I have a little example here that a couple dentists in Canada built Morning Floss to 14,000 subscribers in under a year. They did shut it down, I think, because dentists make quite a bit of money and it probably wasn't worth their time. That's my guess. But they had already worked with all the major brands in Canada and had a very, very, very high value audience of other dentists. Practical personhood finance. This is kind of a weak one. I don't really know where I was going with this other than people aren't very good with personal finance. And I think quick and really, really, truly, useful things can help them, that can help people and be a pretty good newsletter. But I'm not crazy about that one, but maybe it'll spark something in you. Technology for seniors is one that I love because Facebook leads are particularly inexpensive whenever it's an older audience, and something that helps the older community feel a little more in tune with what's going on. And I feel like practical advice daily. I could see the newsletter every day. The very start is a tip that they can use right away, a setting in their phone that helps them. And then maybe it goes on to additional items and articles and such. But I think that would be a pretty good one. Parenting after 40 or whatever age you want to pick probably isn't going to work if you put like parenting after 20, because that's most parents. But after 40, I know from personal experience, I would subscribe to that newsletter if it existed. I don't know, maybe it does, but I think it's a good one. It checks a lot of boxes. You want practical advice from somebody else going through the same thing. 17, highly specific hobbies. So yeah, I'm not crazy whenever somebody comes to me and says, hey, I love cycling. What do you think about a cycling newsletter? To me, that's kind of like saying, it's a little bit like saying parenting or something. It's super vague to me. But like I have here, if you niche down a little bit, I think it works. Cycling for women, cycling in New York City, whatever, something that's a little bit more specific, or a very specific hobby, which I think could work really, really well, because people tend to be more loyal the more niche something is. Okay, fitness for demographic / interest. Yeah, this one's okay. I'm not crazy about it, but it's not bad. Fitness is just too vague, but fitness for busy moms, fitness for older people, as I have here, or people with certain conditions, something that's practical and useful, and it's not aimed at, the gym rat types that have plenty of content for them out there. Number 19, I'm not scrolling down all the way because I want to save my actual choice that I'm going to be doing for last. The TLDR of sports, this is just one that I almost started myself, so I'm leaving it on the list. I think a lot of people, they want to stay in tune with sports, but they don't really want to, actively go look and keep up with it. So just a quick rundown of everything important that happened in sports. That's just, bang, 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 like maybe 10 article links and that's it. I think this would be a fun one to run, and I think it could work. It's just an idea though. And number 20, the one that I'm going to be doing for this entire playbook is, how to make money as an introvert. This speaks to me because I in high school, I figured I would get out of school, and at the time I figured I would make, $8 an hour. And then around my senior year, I finally decided that I'd go to college to be an ad major. And I assumed, I'd be sitting around $30,000 a year for a long time. And I had hoped by the time that I turned 40, which I did last year, well, I guess now it was 2 years ago, I hoped that I would be hitting about $75,000 a year. That was my hope. And a lot of that stemmed from being an introvert who had a lot of drive inside, but just didn't have the confidence to do it. So what I'm creating for this playbook it's called The Thriving Introvert. It's going to be a real newsletter. I take that back. I'm not going to actually build this I'm not actually building this. I'm just building it to show you an example of everything along the way. So it's real, but I'm not going to keep up with it, put it that way. So hopefully this, which again will be included down below in the resource and written section, hopefully this helps you, and hopefully some of my personal takes on these shed some light. But yeah, I think I'll wrap this section up here. Just start listing everything that checks sort of these boxes, and run through the 4 questions that you need to ask and see where you land. And we'll move on next to the equally important part, which is getting a Facebook ad up, because that's going to help you save a lot of time and money as well. So, okay. All right. That is it. See you in the next one.